This is the tale of the Dragon. 11 miles of asphalt cutting through the mountains of Tennessee and North Carolina. 318 curves with no guardrails to catch you if you miss one. Nothing but blind corners, hairpin turns, and a 30-mile-per-hour speed limit that nobody follows. At Deals Gap, there's a tree. It's covered in twisted metal, broken mirrors. Every piece comes from a crashed motorcycle. Every piece represents someone who thought they could conquer the Dragon. The locals call it the Tree of Shame. This is the story of America's most dangerous motorcycle road. For most of American history, U.S. Route 129 was nothing special. The path started as a buffalo trail worn into the mountains by herds moving between valleys. The Cherokee used it for centuries. European settlers followed in the 1700s, hunting and trapping through the gaps. By the early 1900s, it was a crude roadway providing access to settlements in Cades Cove, and later to construction crews building dams along the Little Tennessee River. Around 1934, the route was paved and designated as U.S. Route 129. It ran 582 miles from Florida to Tennessee, connecting small towns and agricultural communities. For the next 50 years, the section through Deals Gap remained in complete obscurity. Local residents used it. Lost tourists occasionally wandered through. That was it. It was just another numbered highway cutting through the Smoky Mountains. The section that would become famous runs exactly 11 miles from Deals Gap on the North Carolina-Tennessee state line to the southern terminus of the Foothills Parkway. 318 curves. That number gets repeated constantly, printed on t-shirts, mentioned in every article and video about the road. Locals will tell you the actual count is lower. The number depends on how you define a curve. But 318 is what stuck. What matters is this. In those 11 miles, you never drive straight for more than a few seconds. The road twists through the landscape following natural contours, snaking between walls of trees with no visibility beyond the next corner. Some curves have names: Copperhead Corner, Hog Pen Bend, Wheelie Hell, Shade Tree Corner, or Bust Bend. The names weren't assigned by engineers. They evolved organically from decades of riders, comparing notes about where they almost died. The road itself sits on the southwestern border of Great Smoky Mountains National Park, federal land, which means the road is completely isolated. Nothing can pull out in front of you because there are no houses, no driveways, no businesses. The park regulations prevent any development along this stretch. In 1992, a local motorcycle enthusiast named Doug Snavely did something that changed everything. He started publishing a monthly newsletter called the Deals Gap Hot Lap, just a small publication for riders who knew about the road. He also got 129 US mentioned in Rider Magazine, a national motorcycle publication. Then he created the Deals Gap Riding Society, about 350 members from across the United States. People who'd ridden the road and wanted to connect with others who understood what made it special. The newsletter and the riding society were grassroots, word of mouth, nothing massive. But they planted a seed. Riders started showing up, not just locals anymore, people from other states. The traffic increased gradually through the 1990s. A few dozen extra bikes per weekend became a few hundred. In 2000, the website taleofthedragon.com went online. It sold merchandise, posted photos, offered maps, and most importantly, gave the road a name that stuck: the Tale of the Dragon. With the rise of internet forums and social media, that name spread globally. Riders from across the country, and eventually the world, started adding it to their bucket lists. By the mid-2000s, the transformation was complete. U.S. Route 129 through Deals Gap wasn't a forgotten mountain road anymore. It was a destination, a proving ground, a place motorcyclists had to experience before they died. The road now attracts an estimated 250,000 motorcyclists per year. On summer weekends, the pavement becomes a parade. Sport bikes, cruisers, touring bikes, sports cars, all of them lined up, waiting their turn to run the Dragon. At Deals Gap, right at the midpoint, there's a small resort, gas station, restaurant. In the parking lot, there's a tree. It's not particularly large, not particularly old, just an ordinary tree that became extraordinary because of what people started hanging on it. Crashed motorcycle parts, bent handlebars, shattered windscreens, cracked fairings. Every piece represents a crash. Every piece is a trophy from someone who lost their battle with the Dragon. There's a sign next to it. No gain and a lot of pain. It started informally. Riders would crash, survive, and as a strange form of catharsis, they'd bring the broken parts back and hang them on the tree. A memorial, a warning, a badge of honor. The tree became so overloaded that management now asks people to turn in their parts instead of adding them directly. The Tree of Shame is the most photographed object at Deals Gap. Tourists pose in front of it. Some treat it like a joke. Others stand there quietly, understanding what it really represents. Between 1995 and now, the tail of the Dragon has averaged 1 to 2 motorcycle deaths per year. That might not sound catastrophic until you remember this is 11 miles, with a speed limit of 30 miles per hour. Compare that to the rest of Blount County, Tennessee, over 1,100 miles of roads. In one 10-year period, those 1,100 miles saw 23 motorcycle fatalities. The 11 miles of the Dragon, 27. Let that sink in. A road that represents less than 1% of the county's total mileage accounted for more motorcycle deaths than the other 99% combined. In 2023 alone, law enforcement worked 16 serious injury crashes on the Dragon. 14 involved motorcycles. During summer months, medical helicopters make multiple trips per week to airlift critically injured riders to trauma centers. Ground ambulances transport at least 10 patients per month to area hospitals. The Blount County Rescue Squad maintains a dedicated presence on weekends just to handle the Dragon's casualties. Graham County, North Carolina operates with 2 ambulances. 2. When a crash happens on the Dragon, the closest trauma centers are University of Tennessee Medical Center in Knoxville and Mission Hospital in Asheville. Neither is close. On a good day, with no traffic, the drive from Deals Gap to Knoxville takes 90 minutes. When you're bleeding out from a femoral artery severed by a broken foot peg, 90 minutes might as well be forever. That's why Graham County maintains 3 helicopter landing pads. 1 at the EMS headquarters, 1 at the Swain County-Graham County line, 1 below Fontana Dam near Highway 28. When the weather's clear and helicopters can fly, golden hour survival rates improve dramatically. But when cloud cover drops below minimums, those helicopters stay grounded. May 28, 2024. Sometime after 8 p.m., Kevin Dane Robbins, 35 years old from Chattanooga, crashed his black Honda near the 9.5-mile marker on US 129. He told police later he'd been drinking before he left home. His bike slid over 100 feet before hitting a tree and tumbling down an embankment. He survived the impact, but he couldn't climb back up to the road. Cell service was non-existent. The crash happened after dark, when traffic drops to almost nothing. He waited. Hours. First responders finally located him around 7 a.m. the next morning. They transported him to Blount Memorial Hospital by ambulance. The helicopter couldn't land in the terrain where he'd gone down. He was declared dead on arrival. Cell phone service remained spotty throughout the 11 miles. Tennessee DOT installed half-mile markers in 2018, specifically so crash victims could tell dispatchers their location, if they can get a signal, if they're conscious, if they're not lying at the bottom of an embankment where their bike came to rest after sliding off the road. November 2022, a rider crashed and his Yamaha R6 caught fire after hitting the ground. He escaped without injury but couldn't lift the burning bike or extinguish the flames. The fire spread into dry leaf litter. Within hours, it had consumed 177 acres of forest along the Tennessee-North Carolina border. Multiple fire departments battled the blaze for days. The Division of Forestry cited low humidity and dry conditions as contributing factors. If other riders had been there to help, the fire might have been stopped before it grew. No one died in that particular incident, but the wildfire consumed resources that could have been responding to other emergencies. Here's what makes the Tail of the Dragon different from other dangerous roads. Nobody drives it by accident. Nobody ends up here because it's the fastest route between two cities. There's no practical reason to be on this road. Everyone on this road chose to be here. They came specifically to test themselves against 318 curves. The culture around the Dragon is openly competitive. Riders brag about their lap times, how fast they completed the 11 miles, whether they scraped a knee on a particular corner. There's an unofficial record, a 50-mile-per-hour average speed set over 20 years ago by a local who knew every inch of pavement. People try to beat it every weekend. Photographers set up at popular curves and sell action shots to riders after their runs. The photos show bikes leaned over at impossible angles, knee sliders scraping pavement, riders pushing their machines and themselves to the absolute limit. Those photos get posted on social media, generate thousands of likes, and inspire others to try harder. The Dragon isn't marketed as a death trap, it's marketed as a challenge, the ultimate test of skill, a rite of passage. Deals. Gap Motorcycle Resort sells t-shirts that say, "I survived the Dragon." The tagline isn't ironic. Speed limit signs are treated as suggestions. The 30-mile-per-hour limit was imposed in 2005, down from 55, specifically because of the crash rate. It didn't matter. Riders still double or triple the limit on the brief straight sections. Law enforcement presence increased dramatically after 2007. Checkpoints, saturation patrols. But it hasn't stopped the crashes, it just made them slightly less frequent. The paradox of the Tail of the Dragon is this: the danger is the draw. If this road were safe, nobody would care. If there were no crashes, no tree of shame, no reputation for eating motorcycles alive, it would just be another pretty mountain drive. But the risk is what makes it legendary. Riders know the statistics. They see the tree of shame. They read the crash reports. They watch videos of bikes sliding across pavement and slamming into trees. And they come anyway. Because conquering the Dragon means something in motorcycle culture. It's proof of skill, evidence of courage, a story worth telling. The road has been featured in movies: Thunder Road, Two-Lane Blacktop, The Fugitive. It's appeared in countless motorcycle magazines. Riders travel from across the country. Some drive 3 days just to spend one afternoon on 11 miles of pavement. The more people die, the more famous it becomes. The more famous it becomes, the more people show up. The cycle feeds itself. Tennessee and North Carolina have tried everything short of closing the road. Speed limit reductions from 55 to 30 didn't work. Increased law enforcement with checkpoints, saturation patrols, and reckless driving arrests reduced crashes slightly, but didn't stop them. Safety campaigns like the border-to-border education initiatives and sheriff's deputies giving speeches about responsible riding were largely ignored. The problem is human behavior. Riders deliberately pushing past their limits on a road that offers no forgiveness for mistakes. You can't fix that with better pavement or warning signs. Some have suggested closing the road during peak seasons, making it seasonal like going to the Sun Road in Montana. Politically impossible. The local economy depends on Dragon tourism now. Installing guardrails would help prevent bikes from leaving the pavement and hitting trees. But it would also change the road's character, potentially making it feel safer and encouraging. Even faster speeds. There's no solution that doesn't involve either fundamentally changing what makes the Dragon attractive or accepting that a certain number of people will die here every year. In 2018, a rider posted a video to YouTube, 45 seconds of helmet camera footage showing him hitting 120 miles per hour on the Dragon's brief straight sections before diving into blind corners at triple the speed limit. The video got millions of views. Within weeks, other riders were trying to top it. In July 2024, a 24-year-old from Ohio died attempting to record himself dragging knee through Copperhead Corner. His GoPro survived the crash. The footage showed him looking at his phone mount instead of the road in the 2 seconds before impact. Local law enforcement now faces something they never dealt with in the 1990s or 2000s. Riders deliberately trying to crash in spectacular ways because the footage is worth more than the bike. Tennessee considered installing automatic speed cameras in 2023. The backlash was immediate. Riders threatened boycotts. Local businesses, now entirely dependent on Dragon tourism, lobbied against it. The cameras were never installed. Some weekends, there are more cameras at Deals Gap than riders. Professional photographers, drone operators, riders recording each other, everyone capturing content. The Tree of Shame has become a selfie destination. Riders pose with the wreckage, smiling, before heading out to add their own piece to it. In 2025, the Blount County Sheriff's Department started a database tracking repeat offenders. Riders who've crashed multiple times on the Dragon, but keep coming back. The database has over 200 names.